Hey, what's up, everyone? So I thought about doing this as just a regular video that I would upload, but I wanted to not have to hold my camera over my desk while I looked at different versions of the Heart of the Jedi. So I just thought, let's just go live real quick. I don't want to necessarily dive too much into Q&A. This might be really quick. By all means, if you have questions, if you happen to be watching this, go ahead and ask. But I don't think this will be super long. I kind of wanted just to make kind of like a record of this for posterity, and then maybe come back and do another sort of formal review of this later. But okay, so if you don't know, if you haven't heard, late last week, it was discovered and then reported on the expandinguniverse.com that someone, not me, had uploaded the manuscript of The Heart of the Jedi, the Lost EU novel from the early 90s by Kenneth Flint, to Amazon. And at least as of this video, it is still available for purchase. Now, to my surprise, I've seen a lot of confusion and misinformation about this over the last couple of days. Naturally, people are incredibly excited, but they, in many cases, don't entirely know what to be excited about. They don't know what this is. And I've actually seen some videos, people talking about this, that are really misrepresenting elements of it, and quite frankly, just like making some things up. I think my two most favorite sort of misconceptions is that, as I've heard intimated again all weekend by people, is that by Lost EU novel, people think this is a novel that was released back in the early 90s, but was just sort of forgotten, right? And now it's been re-released by Del Rey. That's not true, right? By Lost Novel, what we mean is this is a novel that was commissioned by Bantam, who was the license holder in the early 90s, but for a variety of reasons, put on the shelf and was never published. But the rights for these sorts of things revert back to authors over time. And Kenneth Flint worked with Joe Bongiorno at StarWarsTimeline.net back in 2015 to make it available. It was Kenneth's once again. He worked with Joe to tweak it and update it to make it fit within continuity that came after the early 90s, and made that digital version available on StarWarsTimeline.net, where it still exists and where presumably it always will exist, which is great. So don't despair if you can't get a physical version, because you can always read it, which is really the most important thing. There at StarWarsTimeline.net, really a really wonderful website, which I'm sure most people watching this are already familiar with, but it's always worth plugging that whenever you get a chance. So the other hilarious untruth I've heard spoken this weekend is that in one case, someone said, oh yeah, Lost EU novel, Heart of the Jedi. Oh yeah, I read that back in the day, but oh yeah, I guess I've forgotten about it. I'm glad it's available again. No, you didn't read this back in the day. You did not read this back in the early 90s. This was really only for the vast majority of the public, only made available for the first time in 2015 at StarWarsTimeline.net. However, there was a fan, Dennis, a great guy, a great fan of the EU, who took that manuscript when it was first uploaded and put it on Lulu.com, which is a self-publishing platform. It was taken down almost immediately. He made available paperback as well as hardcover editions. And then that was it. And occasionally you'll find these things pop back up on eBay, people selling their versions, but they're extremely rare. Now, happily, someone was able to get a physical copy, directly to Kenneth Flint. That was nice. It was nice that he was able to see this, for the first time, the way it was always meant to be seen, sort of in print in some physical format. Now, the great thing is that, again, someone having uploaded, not me, uploaded this to Amazon recently, many more people get a chance to sort of include this in their Star Wars collection. And again, for the people who have been unaware of the fact that it is a lost novel that's now available, that has been available for like 6 years, it's raising awareness again about this, right? So for the majority of us who are always so sad that there's no more new EU coming, for the folks that didn't know about this, congrats, you've got an entire new book to read. Now, I make it sort of a point not to do too much in the way of substantive review of the content of Lost EU books, stories, whatever. Ever since 2014, it seems like every year there's at least one major thing that comes out that we discover that was lost, that was meant to be published. Things that get tweaked and updated, like Joe's cult encounters, supernatural encounters, things like Heart of the Jedi, smaller things here and there. The reason I don't review them is that, given the state we're in relative to the discontinuation and decanonization 2014 of the EU, given that what we want is new stuff, the fact that we occasionally get new stuff from the old days, stuff that we should have gotten back then, but it's so special that I want every EU fan to savor, right, for themselves. I want you to discover this on your own, entirely sort of free of anyone else's. So I don't really want to say much about it. I want you guys to read it if you haven't. I want you guys to find the physical version on Amazon if you can, if that's what you're interested in, having for your collection, and really enjoying it. Take the time and enjoy it. Maybe later we'll come back. We'll talk more about it once more people, this sort of new wave of people discovering it, have had a chance to go through it and read it. What I wanted to do really quickly, though, before I hop off, is just sort of show the different versions from 2015 and from now 2021. So this here is the 2015 edition. This is the new one, the 2021. So off the bat, you can see there's some very subtle differences just in sort of the color and the tone. This is the 2021. It's a little lighter, but it's still basically the same original cover. Now the backs are a little different. Now, this is the 2015 version. What Dennis, I believe, did was I think he came up with this cover on his own, or found some sort of art that sort of roughly sort of matched the cover and just sort of wrapped it around. Okay. Pretty cool. You could imagine that being a Star Wars Bantam back cover back in the day. Now, this is the 2021 edition. Obviously a little different. Now, this, I think, must have been some original Photoshop work by whoever uploaded this, because this is, to my knowledge, not a image that I've seen before, but that, look, right, I'm trying to do this backwards here. This looks almost exactly like the same AT-AT that you'd see on the back of the paperback version of Courtship of Princess Leia. Okay, but the rest of this isn't there, and I'm forgetting if at the moment I don't have access to my other books right now. If this is just from some other back cover too, and so they just did sort of a blend. But it's kind of cool, kind of reminded me of that. So it's a neat homage, right? This looks a lot like the back cover, a lot of Bantam books of the day. The thing that I think the 2021 edition does slightly better than the 2015 is add that Bantam Spectre logo there at the top. That's pretty cool, right? This, by the way, for comparison, Tales from Jabba's Palace. Again, you can see the 2021 on the spine at least looks a little bit more like the ones in the old days. I have to say, I'm slightly still inclined to prefer the 2015 version, and maybe only primarily because of the size. It's so microscopic, but matters to me at least. The 2015 edition, it's kind of hard to see there. But it's basically exactly the same size. That's nice, right? The new one, the 2021, it's not the fault of the uploader. It's just the way Amazon does things. It's slightly taller, no big deal, right? But it's just depending on how OCD you are about your book collection, your paperbacks right on the shelf, right? It's going to look a little different. The one other thing that they did differently too in the new version is in including, which both editions do, in including information from StarWarsTimeline.net by Kenneth C Flint as well as Joe Bongiorno about the history and context of the story, why it got canceled, and as well as notes from Joe about how he edited it and that process of sort of keeping it in line with EU continuity. The 2021 edition puts all that stuff at the back. The 2015 puts it up at the front, kind of in the way that you would have experienced it on StarWarsTimeline.net. I guess I kind of prefer it at the front because it's much more of a direct homage to to like the source, right, which is StarWarsTimeline.net. And I think it's helpful to have that context before you sort of dive into this book. So yeah, it's worth picking up. I hope you guys get a copy. Now, to my knowledge, the 2021 edition has been uploaded in a way that means whoever uploaded it receives no profit. That whatever money that they're getting from this is going solely into and entirely into the production of it on Amazon, which is really legally the only way that you could even hope to make this fly, right? Because make no mistake, I mean, this is a bootleg, right? I mean, both versions really are bootlegs, right? There's nothing official about this. Again, this did not get put out by Del Rey, right? It's entirely up to Disney whether they want to go ahead and discover this and take this down and demand that Amazon take it down, which they might, and they might do very soon. But anyway, I kind of forgot what I was saying, but it's so cool to see, though. What was I saying? Damn, I can't remember now. Bootleg, There's a funny thing about bootlegs and counterfeits. If this ever did get an official release, if Del Rey ever decided, you know what, we're gonna like we're gonna make room for this in our program. But it's kind of funny. Bootlegs then become counterfeits, right? There's a funny sort of magic that happens, right? But again, I know what I was gonna say. So the good news is that Kenneth Flint, at least in some sense, is not. This is very tricky. The person uploading this is not making any money off it, at least according to their word, right? And that's good. You'd want the money to go to Kenneth, right? But who, from what I understand, he was paid for by the book. Again, when he was commissioned, he got money for it and everything. It's just that over time, it didn't get published. The rights came back to him. But when this was uploaded, when this edition came out in 2015, so few people picked this up that, it's like it was gone so fast. I don't know if there was much concern. I don't know how many people even in the world got it. A very, very, very small number. Based on the sales numbers, which you can read more about at theexpandeduniverse.com, this thing is roaring through the charts. This thing, at least during some period this weekend, was actually outselling most other Star Wars titles. Again, imagine that, a bootleg of a Lost EU novel from the early 90s outselling almost every other Star Wars title on Amazon. That's amazing. The growth in the EU fandom, the hunger for this old content is so immense, and that's just one of the most crystal clear sort of pictures I think we've gotten of it in the last couple of years. But it does raise a question of what can we do for Kenneth Flint? And someone wrote to me and had an interesting idea. They're like, look, if we can get in touch with him, like, should someone set up a GoFundMe or something, right? If, for anyone who bought this book on Amazon, should you chip in a little bit more at a GoFundMe, right? To go to Kenneth, right? To thank him for his contributions here. And it's an interesting idea. I mean, I wanted to say sort of officially that I don't support, stealing from these authors, if that's how you view this. But again, if the good news is that this entire thing was released with the, hey, what's up, Dylan? I'm glad you're here. We're just talking about Heart of the Jedi, our favorite subject. Dylan and I have been going back and forth all weekend about this. So the good news is, again, the entire release of this manuscript is done not just with the permission, but with the strong encouragement and involvement of Kenneth Flint, right? I mean, he was the one that worked with Joe to actually make this available, and again, to help sort of tweak it to fit in line with continuity. But again, 6 years later, is he really involved in the process of getting this on Amazon and having it sold or whatever? No. So again, I thought it was an interesting idea. It's something to consider. It's something to consider. If there's some sort of like GoFundMe to sort of raise funds for Kenneth Flint for this or something like that. But whatever happens to the book, given its obvious bootleg nature, right? If it gets pulled down, again, never despair. It's always available on StarWarsTimeline.net. So yeah, I guess the only thing I can say for anyone else who have got any questions about it, I mean, again, like I said before, I kind of make it a policy not to substantively review these sort of lost books and lost stories. It takes place right after the Return of the Jedi era. It would have been very interesting to see it come out back then. There was a large series of books back then. There's a long list of things we call Lost Worlds, right? Which are the things like the Lost EU stories and books and stuff. There was a whole series of books that this would have sort of kickstarted that are all gone. One by Margaret Weiss, who, major author sort of in the Dungeons and Dragons world, right? Sort of helping to create Dragonlance. We would have gotten a story from her that also got scrapped. And the really sad thing is, at least we know from her, there's some amount of closure. We know from her that whatever computer she was working on that manuscript on is just long gone. The discs are gone, the computer's gone. What's so exceptional about the Heart of the Jedi is not only was it canceled, but it was like retained, right? I mean, time and again, we're discovering that lost bits of EU are, they're gone for good. Like, from my understanding, the Nightfall trilogy that we were supposed to get inside of NJO is gone. That, like, the author just lost those pieces, right? There's a lot of things like that. So there's other things though that that weren't lost, that aren't publicly available yet, and hopefully someday maybe will be. But the Heart of the Jedi, what an amazing find, right? Not just some lost story, not just some lost sort of sketch of an idea, but an entire book. So anyway, I can't stress this enough. I don't condone bootlegging. I don't condone stealing from authors. That said, if it is available on Amazon and around the globe. So there you go. Hey, what's up, Quality? So yeah, one last glimpse here: the 2015 Heart of the Jedi and the 2021 Heart of the Jedi. And who knows, maybe someday there'll be, the 2023 edition and the 2025 edition. It just depends how many times this stuff gets pulled down and how many times someone puts it back up. And you know what? You never know. Maybe someday Del Rey or some licensee will get smart and sort of see if they can put this back out again and make it truly officially part of the Star Wars publishing line. I had a conversation with an EU author 2 years ago, actually, about a lost story, and he seemed pretty jazzed up about actually talking to one of the licensees about sort of saying, "Look, you're right, this was lost, and it's done, and there's no reason why it shouldn't go out." And so he actually really wanted to make it a personal mission to go and talk to licensees about getting it out again. So there's always hope that this stuff gets put out officially again. But in the meantime, it'll always be kind of a fun little sort of historical little footnote in your collection. Imagine if some days these become officially available, well, at least you got like the sort of the backup bootleg versions. Yeah, I think that's it. I just wanted to sort of do a kind of quick review of this. Go check out the expandinguniverse.com primarily on this topic, Dylan Kling's updates on really everything related to this. He's been tracking almost hour by hour the sales charts of this, which again, at least over one point this weekend, were just like blowing up the charts. This is unbelievable. And I know it's sort of gone viral on Twitter. There's a lot of people talking about this. It's pretty exciting. It's always exciting to see people get passionate about new EU releases. Oh, fantastic. Good. We'll keep checking out the site, and before I sign off, quality, yeah. So regarding the Hungarian solo translations, yeah, when I saw this on Friday, part of me thought, is this someone who is interested in also, and also sort of creating some physical versions of those, right? Based on the manuscripts we have, right? Is this someone sort of testing the water with the Heart of the Jedi? And I hope it is, because I got to be honest, I would love to see those Hungarian ones, obviously officially released, but maybe even someone put them in some sort of version like the ones we've gotten for Heart of the Jedi. I have this slight suspicion like there is someone out there sort of testing the waters for what's sort of possible, right? Because again, Lulu.com just slapped us down back in the day. But Amazon seems to be a little bit more freewheeling right now, so we'll sort of see. Oh my gosh! And now Brian's here too. This is fantastic. So I'm so glad to see everyone. Thanks for joining, everyone. Expandinguniverse.com. Check out Dylan's updates on this. It's an amazing story, and I have to think that Del Rey, maybe even Disney, is starting to pay attention again. This book is selling like crazy, and who would have thunk a 30-year-old lost EU novel setting the fandom on fire once again. So the EU for the win. So anyway, thanks everyone. Hope you are out there reading this book. If you have read it, and you don't mind sharing your thoughts on it, put them in the comments. People would like to hear this. I mean, the one question I am getting that I'm reluctant to answer, people are asking like, well, what's the story like? Is it good? Is it bad? It's up to you to determine whether it's good or not. The only thing I will say is that like most Bantam books, in my opinion, from that Bantam era, particularly this early on, there were only so many things they needed to do, right? So are you going to get something as earth-shattering as a random volume at a New Jedi Order, or as just like, lore advancing as something, later? Not entirely what the Bantam books were even supposed to do, right? So it's a really good story, particularly helpful if you understand the context of the early Bantam runs. That's all I'll say, but I would love your thoughts on it as well. Thanks for joining, and I hope to see you soon. Oh, and yeah, that's how we ought to end it. Escape from Dagu, here we go. If that doesn't come out soon in some ways, then man, crazy, right? And just as a teaser, according to the numbers I've been able to find, I believe 400 copies have been sold over the weekend. Awesome. That's great. We're getting the word out, which is really cool. Really, really good. People are very excited about the EU. So adios, guys.